Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony and just finished up building my Plex server and it needed an upgrade already. So I picked up the Noctua NH-L9x65 and I actually picked up another cooler as well. I picked up the NHC14S. However, this one does not fit in the case with the hard drives. Um, with the hard drive chassis in there as well, which is a Plex server, so it's going to need hard drive. So I decided what's another good cooler, and I went with this one. We'll see if it all works the way I want it to. But this is a simple little cooler. Noctua is a great brand. I've used their fans before and coolers, so I was like, okay, I'll take a crack at it and see how it is. The Plex server, there's going to be people out there that say you should have a copy of every single, you know, resolution that you want to play at. Well, that's true, and that could be more efficient. That's going to take me a little bit more time and more hard drive space to actually go through and do. So I decided I have an 8 core. Let's just do transcoding. It can handle transcoding just fine. The problem is that it is around 90 degrees C constantly. So while I was trying to install the NHC14, that fiasco, I took off the cooler. What happened to the CPU stuck to it. You heat it up and everything else, and it still sticks. A little frustrating. But after straightening a couple pins, it's all back and working. It's been working. Then I placed the order for this guy, and it takes FedEx a good old over a week to get it here, which is never fun, right? So you got the mounting bracket hardware that it comes with, and I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward. It has both AMD and Intel. I believe it has the Intel for the AM4 stuff. I don't know. I know that they have an AM4 one as well. They have, you have your spacers and everything. Intel, AMD, and then it also has one thing I love about Noctua too is you just have your common parts. They give you this, but the one thing I really like is that every single time they always give you a tool, and that's little stuff. They also, there are cheaper coolers out there, but so far it seems like if the cooler is going to be compatible with a newer socket, they actually, you request it and they send out the new hardware, which is really commendable. If they're going to continue that down the road, that's one thing I can get behind in a company. Reduce the waste, keep the coolers going for as long as possible. You do have your 3 little manuals depending upon what you're going to connect to, so that's there as well. And the cooler, I've also taken a look at the NHC14S and how it's boxed, obviously, because I tried it out. Had that video recorded too, and then it didn't work, right? And you're just like, oh no. But let's see here. So that's it for the box. But it's a nice little cooler here. We will see how this goes. It's a thinner fan. I'm hoping that this is going to keep the CPU underneath 90C, right? I'm going to run the same test that I did before, same conditions, the server's not moving. You won't see me install this because there's no light in that area of the house, and I'm going to take a flashlight, do it quick, and then start running tests. And then come back in this video too, I'll give you some results, differences. But with the AMD cooler, I will say this, with their stock paste and stock mounting, right, that was at 90 degrees C. With the same test and then going through, I got 1 degree C better when I had to repaste it with, what did I paste it with? It's right there, except I hid it behind something. It was Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. So 1 degree C was not what I was hoping for. So this is going to be another application. Clean up the CPU, make sure I heat it up first, make sure I don't pull any pins out again, or pull the CPU out, when I'm removing the cooler. But it happens every once in a while. You just have to roll with the punches. But I'm hoping that this keeps it a little bit cooler, and especially when you're doing a transcode. Let's say you're watching a movie that's 2 hours at 90°C, which it's still underneath spec. However, I don't want to keep it there forever. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any suggestions or how you guys like this one with this cooler. I'm excited to try it out to see how it compares with this AMD stock cooler, and I'll get that data here and you'll see that in a little bit. I got the Noctua cooler installed. This was a very simple install here, and I'll show you a picture of before with the Wrath Spire AMD cooler and then with this cooler. And the Noctua cooler, very easy to install, took about 5 minutes, and it's doing a good job, right? So I've ran the same test, exact same test. There was the same air temperature in the house and in that section, so that's all the same. And versus this cooler, which is the AMD cooler, as you can see, it's just a basic cooler that AMD puts in the box, which I appreciate that they put in a cooler. Hopefully, maybe over time we'll even get better coolers out of them, but it's extra money. So I think I'll be able to use this one for a while. But going back to that, when you have the AMD cooler on the 5700 doing the exact same Plex transcode, so this transcode is of the exact same movie, ran multiple times, is you're getting a CPU max temperature of 89°C, and the CPU, as you see here in the screenshot, is 88°C at the time I took the screenshot, and the RPMs are about 1900 RPMs there as well. So it gets a little toasty, right? It's a little toasty there, and a little bit too much for my liking. It was clocked at 4.19 or 4.2 gigahertz. Windows isn't exactly in reporting, but it was 4.2 gigahertz, right around there on this. Now, when you swap over and go to the Noctua cooler, so that was, easy swap and everything else. And in this screenshot, you'll see exact same time, reproducible over and over again. It's sitting at a max of 79°C. So that's 10°C lower. I'm very pleased about, and I'll continue to watch this over time once I go through and break out different transcodes, etc. But this is the same transcode. It's doing as the Wrath Spire did, and you can see it's sitting at 77°C there, and the idles are a little bit lower, only like 1°C, so margin of error, I don't even consider that major, right? It's going to be low enough there. But the RPMs are about the same at idle, about 1,000 RPMs. But this fan is a lot faster at 2,500 RPMs to go as well. So basically, I don't know if the fan's also helping, right? I could boost this fan up on the Wraith and just see, but considering that we're 10 degrees cooler on this one, and I don't really care about noise as much. I'll take it, right? Simple to go, on and off. Great cooling for what I paid for it. I think this was sitting around like $60-ish, give or take. And it's using about the same wattage, I would say, but it boosts, right? This one with this cooler, the CPU is boosting up to 4.3, so I get that extra 100 megahertz on there as well. And the CPU is about 80% usage during this whole transcode during the entire movie. So it gets pushed, right? It's not, at 100%, so, but this transcode pushes it, and I reproduced it multiple times today on this cooler. I already did the testing with this cooler, so I kind of knew what I was getting into, and I have had the data there. So just take a look at it. I'll put these, put the Wraith on here, put the AMD cooler versus the Noctua, and just so you can see this. I even try to put them side by side so you can compare them. But I've been impressed with the cooler, right? It's keeping the CPU much lower temperatures, and I'll keep an eye on it to see how it goes over time. But with an easy install, it's well worth the $60 or what it is for me to swap this over, especially if you're going to be using like the 5700G to do a lot of heavy lifting for long periods of time, right? The cooler the temperatures in theory, the longer lasting the CPU will last over time, right? The more you push it, the more chances are there's to failure at a higher temperature. So that's just, I'm hoping over time that that's what it can do, right? It can kind of keep up and keep everything cool and keep it underneath control, where this one seemed to just at times, right? I've done different transcodes. I've left it running. Over time, it just takes a long time to take that heat away. So if I can get the heat up and out, and then start cooling everything else off, that's going to be a little bit more of a benefit there as well. So I'm excited about that. You'll see. I have to look again at how the fans are going, but I think it's actually pulling up, and so it can get that air up, and once it's in there in the node 304, then it can kind of pull that away. So hopefully that will help kind of a cooling there as well, and just keep everything a little bit more underneath control. But let me know what you guys if you have any suggestions, or if I should try anything else with this. I could swap the fan around to see if that helped anything. I don't know if it will in this case. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know if you have any other questions. I do not plan on switching back and forth to test this even anymore, right? This is in a Plex server, so a live environment that I use daily and other people use daily. So switching it, taking it down, does interfere with other people using it, which I don't like to really do. But if I had a test bench or a test machine, I would definitely try this out a little bit more and try these machines out, because I got a couple coolers now that I'd be interested to see how well they cool in different scenarios. So maybe that's in the cards. It all takes money, but maybe one day I'll be able to get there. So I appreciate you guys helping grow this channel. It's been great. Let me know any questions you have. I appreciate any questions or comments in the comments below as well. And until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.